Chapter 8. Tending the Crops. For a week, the girls of the examination side to the ship held their ground and set up barricades to prevent those of the Escalator faction from entering their part of the ship. "This is the captain of the ship speaking. If you do not surrender now, this will be considered mutiny, a crime punishable by expulsion from the school system," the message started. "They've been playing this crap for days now. If they really meant it, they would have done something by now," stated Marseille to Andou. "They can't call this a mutiny. We're protesting their tyranny. I thought mutiny was rebellion to lawful orders. Who made it lawful to use tanks on a peaceful demonstration?" asked Andou. "The only issue is, how do we prove that they started it?" asked Marseille. "We'll need to have a trial before the school board if we're able to find justice in this mess." "I don't want to be expelled," frowned Fontaine. "I'd hate to go home from here. This is my home. I love this ship." "Hey, don't worry about it, kid. None of us are going to get expelled. And all of us are staying on this ship until we graduate. We just need to worry about the mess that we have before us now, before we worry about what comes next." "This is the captain of the ship speaking," began the message again. "Hey, will somebody find that damn speaker and get rid of it?" yelled Marseille. When no answer came, she stood up and said, "Fine. I guess I'll go find it. I'll see you two later." Andou looked over to Fontaine, who was still looking a bit upset inside. "You can't let this crap get to you, kid," said Andou to her new friend. Fontaine looked to her and pulled her face to try and hide her frown, but failed to do so. "Come on, let's walk, yeah?" The two got up and walked through the streets on their side of the ship. "So, what are you doing in class?" asked Andou. "Huh?" asked Fontaine. "You know, like, what's up? You guys doing anything fun, or I don't know?" asked Andou, trying to be relatable. "I guess. I mean, class is all right, but to be honest, I mostly joined this school for the extracurricular side of things, and to join the Sensha-dō team. I mean, it's not all I care about, the Sensha-dō team, that is. If I did just care about that, I probably would have gone to Kuromorimine," said Fontaine, before thinking a bit. "I like the atmosphere here. I love the French culture. Did you know that France was home to the philosophes, some of the early Enlightenment thinkers? They began applying reason to things beyond abstract ideas, implementing it into life. And some of that Enlightenment thinking has become the foundations for our world still. It has created the doctrines by which many of us live by, and I guess I came here in search of that." "Huh. Never really thought of it like that," said Andou. "I mean, I know about the Enlightenment. We learn a fair deal about those things in our cultural classes. But I guess it's easy to think of those things as past when they still apply today. But not just the ideas of the time. The idea that ideas are all said and done is absurd. The principles from which the ideals are derived are still held too. Should not we still challenge our own world views? That is Descartes' thinking, no? Puisque je doute, je pense. Puisque je pense, je suis, j'existe. I doubt, I think, I am. We must doubt to think, to exist," stated Fontaine. "Man, you're really thinking like your own philosophe, aren't you?" joked Andou. "What? You don't think about these things too?" asked Fontaine. "Not usually," stated Andou. "What's the sit rep?" asked the headmaster to Marie and Oshida. "The examination students have barricaded us from entering their side of the ship from the deck. But some of the mechanics club have informed us of the paths that we might be able to take below deck. There are, of course, ways to get there from the reactor unit, but it's a dangerous path, we think. A better way that we found is to go through the cargo elevators at the lowest bay for receiving small vessels at the water level. From there, we can move to the examination side of the ship, taking similar routes up. The only issue is it's a rather long trip. So we found an experimental path. It takes this tunnel here, straight across to their side. Only issue is we don't really know what this tunnel is," said Oshida. "Why not go by air?" asked Marie. "We could fly in the helicopter and land on the other side, and just try talking to them." "Perhaps that could work in other times, but these students have already shown an affinity for violence. said Elena as she entered the room. "What exactly is the plan once we enter their domain?" she asked. "Elena, I didn't hear you come in," said the headmaster. "Excuse me while I pour myself a drink." The streets of the examination site are very narrow, and they're filled with buildings and shops on either side. Driving a tank column through there, that's dangerous. One risks being cut off from either side and quickly being overrun. We want to run a war of attrition. If we can get below deck, we can sabotage their resources, reasoned Oshida. Sabotage their resources? Yes, said the headmaster somewhat drunkenly. How? Oshida rolled her eyes and stated, cut off their water, power, and gas. Starve them out. Why can't we do that from here? Asked Elena. The examination students are the larger part of the manual labor force. Though the ship is split down the middle, the reactor is in a space controlled by them. There are ways to get there from our side, but overall it's still in their control. We don't want to shut down the reactor, though, as that powers the whole ship. We just want to find a way to cut off their utility lines, maybe their power stations. That said, we only know that the top deck is secure, not the lower parts of the ship. I imagine that there are still people down there who are taking care of the lower parts of the ship, but I don't know to what extent, how much the examination force really knows, explained Oshida. She thought for a minute before turning to Elena. Maybe you, new friends, can do some digging for us. The students aren't likely to recognize you as they would us, said Oshida before turning to Marie. Only those on the Sensha-dō team really know all of them. Elena, you could have one of your girls take the route that we know so far and go into the other side. From there, we can have them find out exactly what they know, asked Oshida. Honestly, this is such a mess. Don't you all think that we should ask for outside help? Asked Marie. No way, the other three said in unison. The Sensha-dō and school boards would have my head over this, exclaimed the headmaster. Honestly, whose idea was this mess? He asked, downing more of his drink. Yours, replied Oshida. Oh, God, he muttered. If we call outside help, how do we know that Andou and her little group of revolutionaries won't spin this stuff against us? Replied Oshida. Besides, I think we're all resourceful enough here to get this done on our own, said Elena. She then turned to Oshida and placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll have Lisa get on it. Great, let's go, said Oshida, taking Elena out of the room with her. Marie looked back to the now crying headmaster and shook her head as she left the room. Looks like I might have to get things done myself. I hate getting my hands dirty, muttered Marie to herself.